This is a Kia Optima. It's a 2016 LX to be exact. The Optima is a mid-size family sedan what hails from South Korea, and I'm going to drive it. Why? The Kia is just another boring mid-size family sedan, right? Wrong. This car is a game changer, and I love it. Not only is it an up-and-coming force to be reckoned with in the battle for mid-size supremacy, but it's also reliable, smooth riding, spacious, and so good-looking.
To understand why I'm so fascinated with this car, we must first explore some of Kia's backstory.
Kia was founded in 1944, originally as a manufacturer of steel tubing and bicycle parts. By 1951, they became Korea's first domestic bicycle company. Fast forward to 1974 when their first car was produced. But it wasn't until 1992 when they finally broke ground in the US market, starting with humble stateside beginnings, only being sold in 4 dealerships across Portland, Oregon, of course. They spent so many years going overlooked, ignored, regarded as a dinky little car from Korea. Nothing special, just cheap. They were the poor man's Hyundai. Nobody I knew ever wanted one, ever. I had a girlfriend in high school with a Kia Sophia. She broke my heart. You know who you are.
Broke, bankrupt, and ready to fold, Kia gets swooped up by big brother Hyundai in the nick of time.
But along comes a man with a plan set out to prove that this was in fact no Daewoo. 2005, Kia snatches up whiz-kid automotive designer Peter Schreier from the clutches of Audi and places him in the well-respected post of Chief Design Officer. Schreier then heads up the complete teardown and rebranding of the entire Kia lineup. He redesigns the cars to have a more elegant, European-like profile, subtle, sporty, and sleek. He also introduces us to Kia's now most distinguishable feature, the Tiger Nose grille.
With fresh new designs rivaling those of European car makers, people start to take notice of Kia. Suddenly, Kia is a major force in the car wars and becomes South Korea's new hope. Stepping up their game forced the entire industry to change, especially in the Far East. Even its parent company, Hyundai, must now follow suit with their line of cars as well, bringing sleeker lines and European class to the Sonata and the Genesis.
At the center of it all, the Optima. Not their biggest, most luxurious car, but as their mid-size family sedan, certainly their biggest seller. This is the second generation from the Schreier era, and while I feel like they might have scaled back on some of the more striking design features from the first generation, as if they were playing it safe, it's still a heck of a lot better looking than many of its competitors. Let's take a closer look. Yeah, this is pretty much on par with your standard mid-size family sedan. It looks to be about the same size as the Accord and the Camry. There's not as much width or depth as those two cars as it is tall. Now, this may or may not be a convenience to you depending on what you plan on hauling. That being said, it's not that bad. The spare tire lid is not completely level and flat. It's a little bit concaved, which could reveal some cheaper builder elements. You might want to be careful of how much weight you put on top of this thing. One thing I like about this trunk is that the back seat release is one single lever over here, not back here. A lot of cars, they put them back here. It's hard to access. This one's right up here. Let's see how well the back seats fold down. Okay, not bad. The seats do fold down flat, but there is a hump here so that it's not a completely flat surface into the trunk, which does annoy me. However, this is still nice and flat. So I think you can probably get away with hauling something width-wise across the back seats when they're both folded down. They fold down 60/40, by the way, which is also nice, so you can still have passengers in the rear if you need to haul something extra longer. Not my favorite design, but not my least favorite either. Here I am in the back seat, and well, it feels more like a full size than a mid-size. This is an extraordinarily roomy back seat, and I'm quite impressed with it. You have some small pockets and a cup holder down here, and of course, you have a fold-down armrest with 2 cup holders here. Another thing I like about this back seat a lot is that your middle passenger will not have to stick their knees all the way up into their face. Due to where the transmission is placed, you don't need a large hump on the center of the floor here, so it's actually quite nice to sit in the center as well if you're stuck sitting in the center. As with the exterior, I feel like they're playing it safe again in here when compared to the previous Optima model, which had a really cool, almost thematic design on the inside with the center dash oriented towards the driver. It was really cool. This one is a lot more simple and plain. Not ugly, just plain. Still, it's made of some really nice material. There is a lot of plastic on the dash, but it does not feel hollow, and the dashboard feels nice and solid. These are materials that feel like they would last a long time. This is the LX base model, so while it lacks things like leather seats and a sunroof, you're really not missing out on anything you need in here. It's quite well equipped. The gauge cluster is nice and simple, not much to it. It's got a really neat shape to it. You turn it on, and it illuminates white with the needles illuminating in red, which is a nice feature. It also has a center onboard computer, which is a decent graphic. By today's standards, it's a little Spartan, but it tells you everything you need to know. The steering wheel is a nice 3-spoke design, and you have phone and radio controls on the left with cruise control on the right. It's not leather wrapped or anything like that, but it's still quite comfortable to grip. Moving on to the center panel here, which is where I really think this interior lacks some of the pizzazz it had in the previous model. Still, it's simple and easy to control. It does include a backup camera that has those moving squiggly lines that move when you turn the wheel, so you know what you're about to hit. Moving down here, you have a hidden compartment. When you push this door open, there's a little space for your cell phone or iPod or this sort of device with two 12-volt sockets, USB and aux inserts. Push this over here, and it retracts. Down into the center here, I have all these extra storage compartments. There are a lot of storage compartments. I don't know why you need all this many. Perhaps on some of the more top-of-the-line models, there are things here that you don't get in the base model. Still, you could put change here, you could put something else there, and you do have 2 cup holders as well. You also have the center console here, which is fairly deep and has an extra removable tray in the middle. What I like most about this interior is the shifter. Yeah, it's an automatic, but it has a nice, solid, well-built feel to it. And when you shift into gear, it notches really nice and solid. I can't wait to take this thing out on the road and see how that feels when I drive it. First impressions when starting this car, I love a key. I know push-button starts are cool these days, but I love a car that starts with a key. The parking brake is right above the dead pedal, which is kind of an inconvenient spot because when I want to relax my foot when I'm driving, I keep bumping into it, which isn't that convenient and takes some getting used to. Yeah, I was right. This shifter feels really good. And we're off. Whoa. All right, this car's not all that bad, if I'm being honest with you. It's a pretty solid feel. It has a nice, smooth suspension. Now, smooth, not soft, is a good thing. You want to be able to feel a little bit of the road underneath you, so you have control, so you know where you are. You don't want to be floating around, but it's comfortable. It's not bumpy like a sports car. It's, well, it's luxurious, actually. The more I drive it, the more I'm starting to like it. No, it's not the most powerful car, but it feels heavy, not in a bad way. It just has some nice pedal feel. You feel the weight of the car when you're accelerating. You also feel the weight of the car when you're braking, which is, I think, makes for a safer, more sturdy drive. It gives you more of a connection to the car, which gives you more control. The build quality of this car does become more apparent when you drive it. It feels well built. It feels like they took some time and care into the way this car drives. No, it's not an Audi, but it really picks up nicely. It brings you up to speed nicely. I'd say this is one of the better driving midsize family sedans, absolutely. Yes, good. This is a good car, man. I'm digging it. Let's see how the Kia Optima stacked up to its competitors in my fair and balanced rating system, starting with value, which I give this car a 9. They're every bit as good as any Japanese midsize sedan, only they're still offered at a lower price, and in my opinion, much better looking. Also, if you get a base model like this, they come very well equipped. Moving along to build quality, I give this car a 7. For the most part, excellent fit and finish, but there are some bits and pieces which I feel are cheaper and won't last as long as the rest of the car. For design, I give it a 7. European styling and clean lines make this car stand out among its competitors. Still, I liked the last Optima better. I feel like you played it safe with this one. Take a chance, Kia. It's what made me notice you in the first place. Comfort, I give it a 7. Not the worst, not the best. Plenty of space in the back seat and a smooth, not soft suspension. But I feel like if you sprung for one of the top-of-the-line models with leather seats, you would enjoy the ride a little bit more. Performance and handling, I give it a 5.
I gotta change my mind on this one. I'm giving it an 8. After spending some more time behind the wheel, I grew to love driving it more and more. It's a really solid driver, and for its class, it's excellent.
However, if you spring for the SX model, it comes equipped with a 2-liter turbo engine, bringing your horsepower up from 185 to 245. For visibility, I give this car a 4. As much as I praise its style and design, it does make the sight lines suffer. The sexy bulky hood, the even bulkier trunk make the windows raised higher, making it difficult for me to see where the front of the car is, see out the back. Also the C-pillars, I really enjoy their nice kink, but it makes for a larger blind spot. For cargo, I give it a 6. Big trunk, but nothing special. Also, the spare tire lid is sagging, which means I wouldn't really trust loading any heavy equipment on it. It lacks as much depth and width as it has height, which is less convenient for me. And finally, Coolness Factor. This was a tough one, but I went with a 6. If it were the previous Optima, I would have given it an 8 or a 9. But you're not going to turn heads in this thing. This thing is sensible like James Stewart. Still, it is sort of an underdog, and among a certain crowd of cars, Sonatas, Camrys, Accords, it's James Dean. Overall, it stacked up to be about a 6.5, which is a lot less than I thought it would be. Still, I think this car is so much cooler than some of the other midsize family sedans, and I really admire what Kia's doing. Would I spend my money on this car? No, I wouldn't. Would I try to convince you to buy this car instead of some of its competitors? Yes. Yes, I would. From Auto City in San Diego, California, this is Ariel Levine, and thank you so much for watching.